Well, this is slip and fall season, and to talk about frailty, I have Kyle Plumb from the Canadian Frailty Network. So glad you could come in today.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect time of year to be talking about this. So define frailty.
Sure. Frailty is a medical condition of reduced function. So essentially what it means is enhanced vulnerability to what would otherwise be minor medical issues. For example, a fall, cut, or catching the flu. So it's a reduced resiliency, essentially.
Okay, and it is older people who tend to be, or not real, or not necessarily.
Well, the risk of developing frailty would increase with age, but it's not a part of normal aging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is so appropriate that we're talking to you today. I was away for 3 weeks. 5 weeks ago tomorrow, I fell in my house. I'm still using the back support thing. Still in physio.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy, you don't bounce back quite as fast when you're a little bit older.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow, nothing broken, but it is a long road back, even with nothing broken. I've never had this. When I think of the number of times you fall when you're skiing and skating and doing all the things when you're a kid, whoa, yes, this has been a wake up for me. So, but you say that it isn't just necessarily falls, it could be like even a cut or anything, or a bad cold maybe, or COVID, or...
Absolutely, COVID,
really?
Any sort of infection or sickness. Essentially what frailty is a holistic sort of lens whereby your ability to recover from any sort of minor issue is diminished.
Okay, and that's what leads to hospitalization and so
That's right.
on. And I got a question for you. How we connect the dots sometimes, and we say, well, she broke her hip, and then 6 months later, and I'm thinking, a broken hip on its own, that won't kill you, a broken hip. So why is it you hear about people who break a hip and then, they don't survive? Like why is that? What's going on there?
Well, there's lots of complications that could result from a broken hip. I think what our main focus is actually getting people out of the hospital after a broken hip and allowing them to live independently in their home as quickly as possible.
Okay.
So a broken hip could result in, there could be some infection present, there's just tons of complications that could result in eventually death. But our main focus again the focus is more around care than being curative. So what we want are people are living longer, which is great, but what we'd like to see is people living of a higher quality of life into that old age. So the end of your life, making that a higher quality. And for us, that means staying independent, living in the place of your choosing, such that you can recover and come home from something like a broken hip.
And not be afraid of falling again, somehow to instill that confidence that just because it happened once doesn't mean it's going to happen again.
Absolutely. You'd want to be both mentally, as you say, you want to be confident. You'll also want to be physically capable of doing the things that you enjoy doing for as long as possible. And that's what we'd like to support. That's what an interest in frailty would result in.
It seems that sometimes people don't need a whole lot to stay in their homes. Maybe they just need help buying groceries. Maybe they just need... But they say, oh, well, you can't buy groceries on your own anymore. Got to put you in some sort of facility. So what needs to happen? I hear that home care, it isn't enough. What needs to happen? Yeah,
well, that's a great question. It's obviously different for everyone. Everyone has different circumstances, be it economic or otherwise. What we like to see is people adopt healthy lifestyles.
Okay.
People adopt healthy lifestyles, and that allows them to remain more independent for longer, such that they're able to remain in their homes for longer if they wish to. So it's about empowering people to remain independent so they don't need to make those difficult decisions about moving into a long-term care facility, making use of the resources that exist in the community. And Kingston and KFLNA have some fantastic resources that people might make use of. And if I may,
yes, please.
The behaviors I'm talking about, we've developed a framework for healthy aging. It's very simple. It's called AVOID.
Okay.
And that's an acronym. So it's easy to remember, I think, because that's what we're trying to do when it comes to frailty. We're trying to avoid it. So it's an acronym. The A stands for activity, so physical activity, vaccination, optimizing medication, social interaction, and diet and nutrition. If we take care of those 5 simple components, 5 sort of evidence-based components that are known to mitigate, prevent the onset of frailty, then I think we're well on our way to staying at home, staying independent.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, for somebody out there who's watching this, what is a down and dirty they can start today to reach some of these goals?
Absolutely. So what I would recommend is a program that we've implemented. It's called, aptly named, Avoid Frailty. It's a program for healthy aging. I believe the website is up on the screen, and as is the number. It's a free program. So I would suggest that people sign up, register for the program online, or we can register over the phone with us. And what that is going to provide access to is educational resources in all those 5 components, a full database or library of existing programs in Kingston and in KFLNA that people can search and access those programs, and a number of sort of fun, engaging ways to keep track of how you're doing, set goals, and keep track of whether you've reached those goals. We also have various ways to connect people with each other. So there's a peer-to-peer coaching program. We'll train people to support other older adults in their health goals. So there's education, there's programming, and there's people.
Well, the one thing that I was so grateful for when this happened was that I go to a gym. I have for over 30 years. I've belonged to a gym. I was able to, I had enough upper body strength to be able to push myself with chairs and things like that. And that made a huge difference, because for the first few weeks, I really couldn't move. I was just so, my back was so stiff. So would you recommend that an exercise program to build physical strength?
Absolutely. Physical strength absolutely would be a major part of that activity component. The great thing about this program is that it begins with an assessment. You fill out an assessment, and what we do is we generate a report for you. And what that shows you is where your risks are. What do you need support with, or what do you potentially need support with out of those 5 avoid components? And then what we do from there is we actually recommend specific programs, specific educational pieces, so that you don't have to scour the whole program. You can click and you'll find what you need there. So if you're looking for a specific type of program, you can search in the program library that we have, or you can click on our recommendations.
Wow. But I can't believe I've never heard about this. Is this something, is this really new, or is it? It's fairly new, that's why I haven't heard of it.
So we just launched in November.
Oh, okay.
And we had a great event where we launched. We brought together a number of different organizations that provide programming for older adults in the community. And we essentially had a bit of an expo where all of those programs were sort of highlighted, and alongside ours. And so we have about 250 people right now using the program, both online and phone-based.
I really, this is so interesting. What age do you think people should, or what is the typical age of people to be in contact with you?
As soon as they're ready. So the program's developed mainly for older adults. That is above 65.
Okay.
But what we suggest is the program is meant to be preventative right? So the earlier you can get on and at least learn about the in terms of the recommended behaviors, learn about what programs, what services are out there for you, the earlier the better. So I would say starting at 60 and above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what happens if you have a parent who, you know, you're starting to say, oh boy, you know, they're depending on me more and more all the time. Some of their behaviors have me concerned. Is it okay for them to contact you on behalf of their parent?
Absolutely. So we support care partners and their loved ones as well as clinicians using the program. So if you're a care partner, you're supporting your loved one, you could fill the assessment out alongside your loved one. You could sit and do it together. You could do it on your own with your knowledge of them. Or you can access the program as a guest. Not have to fill out the assessment and just see if there's anything that would be helpful. So absolutely, we aim to support care partners as well.
It's super. This is so interesting. So if they didn't get the information down in time, just Google Frailty and Kingston and it would be right there.
Yeah, you would find the Canadian Frailty Network likely, and then you could find this Centers for Healthy Aging and the Avoid Frailty program for healthy aging on that website.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been so interesting. So glad you came in.
Thank you very much for having me.